Breaking news coming in. The Indian Air Force has released details on Agnipath's recruitment scheme. Incentive number 1, they've announced uniform travel and medical allowance. Number 2, they've said 30-day annual leave and medical leave. Number 3, insurance cover of 1 crore in case of a soldier's death. The 4th incentive is ex gratia of 44 lakh rupees if disabled in line of duty. And the 5th incentive is CSD Canteen facility for the Agniveers. These are the changes that have been announced for the Agnipath scheme. So the centre, of course, is mulling changes at the moment. These changes for now have been announced in the back of the large-scale and statewide protests that we're seeing, nationwide protests rather, around the Agnipath scheme, the opposition to up in arms against the government, against the scheme, many youth protesting. There have been acts of violence and arson also been reported across the country. But that is a matter of investigation as to who are these elements who are indulging in it. The centre is having a relook. The IAF now has also announced a few changes. In fact, this evening, Rajnath Singh is going to be having a meeting to discuss just this, to have a relook at this. But the Indian Air Force, in the meanwhile, has released details on the recruitment scheme. Incentive number 1, uniform and travel and medical allowance. Number 2, 30-day annual leave and medical leave. Number 3, insurance cover of 1 crore rupees in case of the soldier's death. Number 4, ex gratia of 44 lakh rupees if disabled in the line of duty. The 5th incentive is CSD Canteen facility for the Agniveers. Ashutosh is now joining us live. Ashutosh, there is a clarification coming in from the Indian Air Force, and the centre also is in damage control mode because there's a meeting lined up this evening by Rajnath Singh to discuss the Agnipath scheme. And in the meanwhile, the chorus of the opposition is growing and the youth too are protesting across the country. What are you making of it right now?
Well, just 2 meetings called by Defence Minister within a week on this scheme before it rolls out, and just after the announcement. It says a lot how much government anticipated the backlash on the announcement and how prepared they were. And of course, the question that is being raised from the opposition, why it was not tested. Veteran defence experts also saying why it was not tested in some battalion at some regiments, and only after the success or the evaluation this could have been rolled out. But for now, since it already has been announced, the armed forces says that from next week onwards the recruitment process will begin. But clearly looking at the backlash that is coming from the youth all across the country, and particularly in the largest base of the recruitment of the armed forces, the government is calling such meetings, and yet again the defence minister will be meeting the head of the armed forces. Now, what the scheme that has been rolled out, clearly the terms and conditions has been released by the Air Force, where it says that Agnipath is a new HR management scheme for the armed forces. The second para, it says that each Agniveer will require to formally accept terms and conditions about the age of 18 and below the age of 18 years. And third, what it says, the post period of 4 years, all Agniveer will go back to the society. However, on the organizational requirement and policies by the Indian Air Force, 25%, and of course it will be discretion of the Air Force on the strength of the specific bench of original Agniveers will be enrolled in the Indian Air Force based on their performance during the duties for 4 years engaged with the body. And clearly in certain other pages, the medical benefits, the uniform training, everything, including their pay scales, and after their due course completing 4 years of the retirement, we call it retirement, as they, the opposition also saying, many youth are saying that we don't want to retire in such age. 10 lakh rupees as announced, more than 10 lakh rupees will be provided to the each candidates after completing their course. And that's clearly, this is just the scheme has been since announced. This is for the public domain. Now everything has been written very clearly. So the clarity has come out from the Air Force. Now, as far as the protest, we are seeing right behind me at Jantar Mantar, the Congress is calling protest. We are already seeing the street has been hit by the protesters, young protesters in UP, Bihar, in Haryana, in outer part of Delhi as well, certain pockets in Punjab as well. So clearly what it shows that government is also now, somehow sensing the mood on the ground, that there is anger, and perhaps the meetings are being called one after another, and certain amendments have also been announced, certain amendments just in 3 days of the announcement of such changes in the armed forces structure, these meetings itself indicating, and that is now also giving a chance to the opposition, the according to the government, that look, how prepared you were, that clearly multiple amendments you need to be done, and people even, comparing it, particularly the opposition party is calling it, look, this was exactly you did during the demonetization, this was similar happened with the CEA, the similar happened with the farm laws, and yet again another changes where you have to go for the multiple amendments just in short span of time after, right after the announcement. Chaiti.